the 2-in-1 mode M4. Now I call it that because I'm gonna be turning the assault rifle, the M4A1 assault rifle. You're able to switch from going from long range, which it excels at, to being more or less like in a close to medium range kind of engagement and still be somewhat viable. Now, this is essentially like a two-mode deal. You can switch it to where you know it can play in both sections. Now, for the most part, this build will be slow. We're on the slower end for handling for the gun because we are turning it to DMR, so it's going to be a little bit slower. But I'll make it to where it's as light as possible while still being really effective. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So for the barrel, we want to go with the Corvus Custom Marksman barrel. Now this is the second best barrel I can get aside from the stock M16 Grenadier in terms of bullet velocity, recoil control, and damage range. So the Corvus Custom Marksman barrel has the exact same stats, but just a little bit less benefits, or not as high up benefits, but it makes it to where they still get those benefits to an extent, while not having that big of a penalty on their movement speed or aim down sight speed. But you still have a penalty, yes, but it's not as bad as the Grenadier. As you can see here, for the mobility, it just goes way lower with the Grenadier barrel. So we're going to go ahead and go with that. So that will make it to where it's still very effective while also making it to where it's still somewhere on the lighter end. For the ammunition, we're going to go with a 458 SOCOM 10-round magazine, and this is the only DMR magazine conversion that you can get, or ammo conversion. Now this will increase your damage and range, obviously, since it is a higher round. But cons being fire rate will be knocked down a ton, and recoil control will be a lot less because it's a lot higher round, or a lot higher fire power kind of round, so it has a bit more kick to it. And of course, it being a 10-round magazine will also have the magazine ammo capacity will be less from the standard 30-round mag. So again, it's for a DMR for longer range, so you're not supposed to worry about that too much. For the optic, we're going to go down to the 4x flip hybrid. Now you would think, since I am making it into a DMR or like a long range weapon, you would go with the sniper scope or the variable zoom scope to get the most amount of range. Now these two are the most effective for sniping, yes, if you want to get really good sights in on people at very long ranges. But if you want the benefits of a sniper scope, like having the high magnification, but you don't want the optic glint visible to enemies, which is like the glare coming off of your scope to where people can see your location. Now the 4x flip optic almost has the same amount of magnification as a sniper scope. As you can see here, it says a high power 4.4 times zoom or magnification. The 4x optic obviously only has a 4x zoom to it, but it's only by 0.4 less. So it almost gives you the exact same magnification as a sniper scope, just a tad bit less, and it will make it to where there's no sniper glint. And you can also flip between the two. Like for the long range, which is the 4x, and I believe if you switch it, then it goes to a 2x scope or a 1.5x scope, more or less like a reflex. So that's why we're going to select it. That is absolutely perfect for our build. Now we would want to go with more or less something to help you out for long range for like recoil control. So probably a compensator would do pretty well for the front of your weapon. If you don't want to run that, you can run the monolithic suppressor, so you're able to get the sound suppression, obviously, damage range, but it's not listed even though it's supposed to. Every time that something is increased in damage range, your bullet velocity is higher, so it goes further. It's just not listed under pros, but that always comes with, damage range. As you can see here, for pros for the barrel, say damage range. Underneath this is bullet velocity has been up too. It's supposed to say that for the monolithic, but it does not have that listed. It's fine. It's about 15% boost. I believe the barrel gives you a 50% boost or 53% boost to your bullet velocity. So this sucker goes fast. And plus the 458 SOCOM rounds also having a tremendous damage range. And bullet velocity on its own. And from there, we would probably want to go with a stock, mostly like an M16 stock if you don't want to run that, and just really any attachment to help out your aiming stability, like the tactical foregrip. That would be a good one. Or the commando foregrip. This gives you aiming stability and recoil stabilization, so you can get a little bit of both worlds there. So I think that might actually be a better attachment for you. And this is essentially it. So again, this is going to be effective and medium range as well to being in close range kind of combat. It could be viable, and we're going to go over again like a 4x flip hybrid. It almost gives you the same magnification as a sniper scope, but it does not give you the sniper glint, and it also gives you the option to flip between sights to changing distances, you know, from being far range to being close range. Going with the 458 SOCOM 10 round mag, because we are turning into a DMR. This is what you need to convert it to a DMR. Command of foregrip, that will help out this aiming stability for longer range engagements, while also helping out recoil stabilization that helps out the horizontal bounce of the gun, so it just makes it to where you're more accurate at longer ranges just by firing. Cons being movement speed, but that's nothing too bad. The Corvus Marksman custom marksman barrel, again, is essentially just like the M16 Grenadier, but less of the stats or benefits. They're just a tad bit less, with less cons to it as well. That's why we're going there, so you still get those benefits. And a monolithic suppressor to help out bullet velocity even more, so you don't need to lead your target as much at longer ranges. So now it has the option of changing between engagements, and also it works really well for being a sniper rifle or a DMR. It will go ahead and jump into a game and I'll show you how this deal works. Now I'm just going to go up against bots. It's not going to really play out like it would with real people, but I mean, you could try that on your own if you want to do this build. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Alright. So as you can see, it's not necessarily the fastest in aim down sight speed.
Team deathmatch.
But the weapon sway is not too bad. Now, for long range, then you would want to go with your highest scope and then go to select fire and send it to semi-automatic. Now that makes it to where it's way more accurate, because there's a lot more controllable, there's less recoil after each one. You need to switch over to close range, flip the scope, switch the fire rate to automatic. A little bit better in close range combat. Now I'm running crank timer on here for aim down sight speed, so it's not as painful, but it's the same deal if you have your scope flipped. So this is what helps you out in close range combat.
White phosphorus ready to burn.
Now if you think you can lead your targets a lot, and I would add something like the stipple grip tape or like any kind of attachment that helps out aim down sight speed, because this thing is kind of slow, I'm not gonna lie. Again, it is a DMR. I did say it's gonna be more or less on the slow end of things for handling. Let's see if we put this thing in.
Now then.
Oh shoot, okay. Wow, that gives us like a lot of health.
Better. Friendly sentry gun destroyed.
So yeah, so you could take off this suppressor if you don't want it, if you want to give it that sound suppression. As you can see, it's a lot faster. Now what you could do as well, you don't need to really put on a stock, because if you take off the suppressor, now it just gets rid of the aim down sight penalty on its own, so it does go up no matter what. So if you don't want to run another attachment like a Forge Tac CQS, then you could make this thing to where it's a little bit better at long range, turning it more or less into a better DMR, and you can put on the 3 burst mod, which will make it obvious a 3 burst, and you can switch to single fire if you want a real aggro spray. That makes it to where that's not as effective in close range combat or medium range combat, but it does excel way more at longer range, because you get a lot more
Counter
damage out
UAV
on
on
people
standby.
with less recoil because it's a 3 burst, and it's essentially just a 1 burst shot to kill people. So that's more or less turning into a better DMR if you want to run it like that. But again, we would be running the automatic version because this is the 2-in-1 gun mode. Now given it does take a bit actually to switch between them. So single fire, long range, again this gives you the exact same zoom, or almost, as a sniper rifle. You get to flip through it and you're able to not get that sniper glint while essentially having a sniper scope on top of your gun, which is really handy for a DMR. And this sucker's pretty accurate too, despite having all that recoil on there. Again, if you have the single fire mode or the 3 burst mode, that will cut down on the recoil a ton, so it's way more manageable and dish out a lot more damage without needing to worry about it too much. So that's essentially it. I do recommend giving this thing a try. Now, of course, by default, your gun can be selected to automatic fire, and you can obviously use the sniper scope at longer ranges, you know, while also having the automatic fire on there. But it's a lot harder to hit your enemies because of that high rate of fire, and it's a DMR round. So there's that. You can swap there, switch over, and people are like running around the corner, then you can aim down sights, fire at them from like close range. You know, you can feel a little bit more comfortable. I mean, it only gets so good. Again, it's a DMR. It's this is more or less turning it to where it has a backup option if you need it when people are in medium to close range to you. That's a secondary. So this is essentially the build. I definitely recommend giving it a try. It's one of those unique builds that, you know, you have 2 different gunfire modes to it and 2 different roles they can set up for it, which I actually like about this gun. It's way more versatile, I guess.
Keep going.
And if you want to put on the suppressor again, then you get yourself a 65% increase to your bullet velocity, which essentially makes it to where you're able to hit someone which is a good like 1 kilometer out, which is roughly about a mile for you guys not using kilometers, or the metric system I suppose, which is a pretty good distance for a DMR. Again, this is not a sniper rifle where it's like the second best thing to it. We're trying to make it to where it's more or less a sniper rifle. It's not going to take, you know, 1 shot to kill someone, usually about 2 to 3, unless you hit them in the head, and then that's when it will only take 2.
My respect.
So that's essentially it. It's one of the best builds I could find for the M4A1 because it gives you all the benefits of a sniper rifle while also giving you the benefits of a close range gun, while also giving you an increased amount of bullet velocity that's insane. You know, you have an option for a backup like close range kind of mode to there. So, and of course long range due to select fire. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm definitely looking at another build I'll be putting up after this, and it's mostly going to go over the next ammo conversion, but it's going to be like a weird build, not necessarily a 2-part kind of switch deal like this, but it's definitely going to be interesting, and I'll be listing the highlights of it where the strong suits are.
Counter UAV on standby.
So yeah, there we go. I'll see you guys in the next one.